everyone, please.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Hi, everybody.
Hola.
Hola,
¿qué tal?
Grayson.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Buenos días, Grayson.
Grayson, let me say this to the people that have just joined us in Spanish, because I have to confess that I didn't tell them some of them that it was going to be in English, but that's why I wanted to share. So, hola a todos. Si es que alguien se sorprendió porque la presentación de Grayson va a ser en inglés, no se preocupen. Grayson va a hacer algunas mini explicaciones o les vamos a apoyar en lo que necesiten, y les prometemos que tendremos una próxima oportunidad, una en español para todos los que aún no tengan el nivel suficiente para comprender esta presentación. Ok, gracias. Ok, thank you, Grayson. Sorry.
Gracias, Lucia. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Grayson. I am the lab manager for the Smart Waterloo Region Innovation Lab. Thank you all for coming. We have a global audience today, so if anybody needs me to stop and explain something differently, or you need me to try and slow down, just raise your hand. I'm happy to do it. I'll slow down only for a little, then I'll speed back up again, but I'll try and remember that I need to slow down. So I want obviously to talk to everybody today about what's happening and what we're doing with GIMI Impact. I can say that this is one of the most incredible things that I've seen in my innovation career over the last 20 years. And what is happening, how fast we are seeing the adoption and the outcomes that we see in the community are absolutely amazing. I am going to ask that Erilla, if she can play a short video. It's about 3.5 minutes, and then I'm going to go into my presentation and we'll speak afterwards. This is a tool that allows for educators, it allows for administrators to actually more effectively engage students in a inquiry-based learning. What we see is that there's more engagement, then they're going to be more active in school, there's going to be better outcomes, and this allows us to actually reach more youth because it creates an environment where they can actually experiment and play and actually innovate in ideas that make it more accessible for them, and therefore they're more engaged in what they're doing in school.
Ça m'a appris tellement de choses. C'était tellement amusant tous les journées. Aller dans la bibliothèque, travailler sur GIMI, ça m'a fait sentir comme un adulte un peu. Et oui, je le recommanderais. Je dirais que ça te donne un très grand impact dans le monde. Tu peux faire choses en réalité. Tu vas avoir beaucoup d'expérience dans d'autres choses. C'est juste un environnement très bien.
The beauty of this concept is that youth are coming up with micro solutions and small solutions, and we're funding them small amounts of money, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. To them, major amounts of money to test out these ideas themselves. So now we're testing their ideas at a small rate, and the ones that we find that are working or we're finding benefits from, we have then the evidence to support to grow bigger.
We see problems in our community every day, but teens aren't usually given an outlet to fix them. But this gives us a chance to do that, and that's really important.
GIMI provides opportunities for youth like all of us to make real change in our world and our society.
You can end up creating like an idea and change your community or like the world.
The curriculum isn't enough anymore. We need to really be finding ways to expand the school into the community and bring the communities into the school. And design thinking and the GIMI Impact model is what's going to help do that. I think that we really need to start looking for authentic, experiential learning opportunities for our students And this is a really great framework that teachers can use that makes it easy to do.
If you want to teach youth the elements of how to change and make their lives better, GIMI's the tool to do that. If you want to give youth the opportunity to exercise, to try their ideas, if you want to create a safe space for youth to fail and to learn from their own mistakes or their own miscalculations, GIMI's the opportunity to do that. Every youth should have the opportunity to build out their ideas. Every youth should feel like they're supported to build out those ideas, and every youth should have the tools to be able to come up with solutions that support not only themselves but their community. So if you're out there and you want to get youth involved with GIMI at school, in your community, we'd love to hear from you, connect with you, engage with you, and find out ways we can bring this to more youth.
Thank you, Arilla. That was a quick video that we had put together to try and explain all the good things that are happening. And you can imagine this is kind of a hard thing to accomplish, because what we're really doing is creating this framework where we're empowering youth to do something completely new. So if that was kind of the 3.5 minute version, I would say that this is the 2-minute version. You can leave here after this. The partnership with GIMI has literally been one of the best things that we have done as a region. Our partnership has been successful in so many different ways. It's allowed us to better engage youth in the community, which are voices that are often ignored when we do community consultation, just because reaching them is sometimes more problematic. It's opened the door to new partnerships and pathways. This is part of what we call the benefits of the innovation premium in the GIMI framework, where we actually have now, in less than 1 year, we have now started getting organic calls from the community and beyond the community, both to benchmark with what we're doing, with how can we adopt GIMI, the impact framework, and how do we better engage children and youth. And one of the most impressive things that I have seen is not only the inquisitiveness, but the creativity and the desire to solve partners by children and youth. When I first started this job, I was interviewing different children and youth from across the region. And I interviewed one young boy, he was about 11 years old. He's part of a group. His family were refugees from Syria. And he said, you don't need power to change the world, to make the world a better place. You just need the desire to do it. He goes, I would like to do something in my community, but I don't know how. So if you think about that, we are stopping children because we're not giving them the door. They want to solve problems. They see problems that we miss every day. And this is a way that we can empower them to do that. If you want just the 10-second version of what I'm talking about, then this is all you need to remember. Compassion is innovation. Innovation is compassion. This is as simple as I can make it. I can define for you what compassion is and what innovation is, and I'll do that a little bit towards the end. But simply put, we know in the brain that this is how this works, is that we see from some work at MIT that the eureka moment, kind of this innovation moment, happens once you are in a period of being angry or confused or frustrated, and then you literally have a light bulb moment in your brain. A photon is released and you enter into this gamma wave state. It's the highest frequency wave state that we know about in the brain. And it's associated with so many other benefits. Whereas when we look at monks, when they meditate under an MRI machine, we can actually see this gamma wave state also appear when they're meditating on compassion, which is different from empathy. So in the brain, these two things go together. And this was really kind of the inspiration for creating this curriculum where we could actually train youth around the innovation methodology that GIMI has created, adapted obviously for a younger audience. But the hypothesis was we are going to make more compassionate people. And if we do focus and empower them to solve those social and community challenges that they see every day, But either because we have become jaded, we don't see it or pay attention, or we think that maybe these are things that we can't challenge. They're excited to do it. And I can tell you from the data that we have collected, we can show that as we build social and community innovation and compassion in our youth, we actually see an increase in compassion. As we increase compassion, we see an increase in innovation. These are two mutually reinforcing variables. And that is a very profound concept if you think about it. All of a sudden, this idea about how we have organized the world starts to crumble, because it means that if we collaborate, if we work to solve each other's problems, we can actually start to make and build a better world. If you can all play a game with me quickly. I don't know if you saw in that video, the gentleman from my lab that was speaking, he's the play lead, which is responsible for all youth engagement because we think play is important. But if you want to try and play a game with me, you can close your eyes or keep them open. I just want you to imagine a different world, a world that's much cooler and green, what that looks like, what that feels like when you walk through it, what it is when we are more caring and compassionate. What would that look like if all the people that you meet, instead of like, oh, hitting you with their shoulders or ignoring you, or worse, if they were there just to care and be careful with you, where all the problems that we have, instead of having scarcity, we had an abundance that we can collectively solve these problems together. And that we are open to collaboration across borders, collaboration in our communities, collaboration with people who we would define as competitors, and where we put children and youth at the center of our community, where everything we do is to make the world better for them. What does that world look like to you? Well, this is literally my job, is to think, what does this world look like? And I can tell you that some of the things that we can see, it looks like children or youth are respected and their voices are considered, that we have this idea of belonging is a KPI of every community. And the way that we measure this is, what is personal involvement for an individual in their community? It's not that in the case of children, it's not being dragged along to, a community event or to go out shopping or something like this. It's when a child or a youth says, I want to do this, and they go and do it. You can think about the Fridays for the environment, climate marches around the world by youth. That was personal involvement. And we can see that the higher a sense of belonging that you have, the more healthy you are, the higher sense of well-being, the greater the sense of your ability to participate and be a better part of society. All of these things can be driven by belonging, mental health, wellness, well-being. We become a more resilient community, socially and economically, because we have capacity. Children and youth able to actually step in and lead and take leadership roles in solving these challenges. And economically, because now we have an entire generation that's starting to be trained in being able to have some of the most important skills of the 21st century: comfort with ambiguity, creativity, the ability to collaborate and work together, the ability to solve complex problems. We're creating a better future. And all of a sudden, we are able to solve a lot of small problems without solving a lot of big problems. Children and youth will see small problems. There's this idea that, we have laws and policies that tell us not to do certain things. Every country in the world has these. And obviously, we don't get it 100% right because people break these laws all the time. We have corruption problems. We have health problems. We have environmental problems. All of these things have rules and laws around them, but somehow we don't pay attention to them. And it all kind of starts because if you go into one neighborhood and you see it's maybe not so nice, then all of a sudden you start to kind of take advantage, and maybe someone starts to do something different until corruption starts to spread. Compassion works the exact opposite way. When you start to solve a little problem, you start to shine light on an area so that bad things don't happen. This is like called, I think Rudy Giuliani, before he went crazy, actually called this the broken window theory. Or when he was trying to police New York, he said, look, if it's a broken window, just fix it. If the subway has graffiti on it, clean it off. If we start to make the world look better around us, people will start to behave better. And guess what? This works. So the question is, why are we not already there in this world? Why can't we already create it today? Again, this is something I spend a lot of time thinking about, and it really comes down to the fact that we are not preparing our youth for a future that they can be successful in. More importantly, for those of us who are in the business of innovation, we've forgotten the reason for our craft. We've confused the fact of innovation is the only means that we have to go and actually try and create wealth. This is only one type of innovation. Innovation is to make the world better. Innovation is to make it easier for each other. Innovation is compassion. And if we start to remember this, then we have the ability to start and change and do something very, very different. All of a sudden, a lot of possibilities become open to us. I really like this quote by Voltaire because it starts to be, it's kind of tricky. I'll argue about you for anything as long as you define what we're going to argue about. So I want to take just a few minutes very quickly and talk about what innovation is, about the innovation gap, and about compassion. And then I want to give a challenge to everybody that is on the call today. And then I would like to make sure that we have time for any questions. I do speak a little Spanish, so if that's helpful, I can answer then. I don't speak a lot of the other languages on the call, but I can try. So I want to first define what that means to be compassion, because GIMI Impact is a compassion innovation training. So compassion requires action, it's not thought. And the difference between empathy and compassion is an act of being selfish versus selfless. If you're empathetic to someone, you feel what they're feeling and you want to relieve their pain because you want to relieve your own. Whereas compassion, you don't have to feel that way, but you can go and still you're moved to help. I think that this is important because when we're talking about looking at social and community innovation around what the GIMI Impact framework is, that requires us to actually start to care about other people. It requires us to go off and do research. I'm going to talk about a couple of the projects that we've funded through the lab and about why we can see that this is happening. But all of a sudden, you start to see that even through the eyes of a child, how we can start to organize our world in a different way. There is no academically accepted definition of innovation, which is why I would like to define this, and I hope that this is my contribution to the field, is that innovation is a very simple equation. You can see it at the top, but we can define it as your expertise, something that you're really good at, plus something that you've never done or never thought about, and it has to create value. Everyone is an expert on something. Everyone has the power to innovate. Everyone. This is the mission of GIMI's, to democratize innovation because everyone can innovate. This myth that there is some guy in a turtleneck sitting in Silicon Valley creating something new for the world is just that. It's a myth. It's not one guy doing it. It is everyone. But how do we actually know what to do? The experience that you have, this sometimes is, we could say children and youth are limited by experience, but they're only limited in that way if you think about it in the terms of all the procedures that we need to get something done. If you think about it in the way that they're not limited or restricted, all of a sudden, any new problem that they see, they're willing to try and solve it. This is absolutely amazing when we think about this. And the last piece is the value. This is where I think we have forgotten our craft. Where value, when we think about this, can be economic. For sure, it can be wealth. It can be technological, like some form of R&D. It could be a new way to get resources. It could be a business process. But what we are most interested in is social and community value. How do we make a more stable community? How do we make a better world? And the way that this can be done is by unlocking and using the tools of innovation to create something new. I want to talk about one other idea here, which is kind of where innovation happens along a spectrum. because this is kind of where we're trying to unlock just by the fact that we're engaging with children and youth. You have on one side of the spectrum, you've got optimization. This is just making things more efficient. Then you go into sustaining, which is kind of a funny word because it's not sustainable. Both of these sides of the innovation spectrum, eventually, if we limit our activity here, can sometimes contribute to this innovation gap concept. Whereas on this side, we have breakthrough and disruption. These are new ways of looking at things, and as disruption, you have a new way of even asking a different question. I will argue that you can get to breakthrough going kind of from left to right here, optimization, sustaining, breakthrough, using the same kind of tools and mindsets that you approach your everyday work. You can reach breakthrough with a little bit of help from an organized innovation process, but you'll never get to disruption because disruption requires you to ask a question differently. What does that look like? In a very simple way, imagine we all work together in a factory and we're making red cups. If we figure out how to take just a little bit of plastic off the bottom, that's going to make us all more money. It maybe saves time in the production. That's an optimization innovation. If you adopt SAP, some type of new accounting software to your company, it's new to you, it's a new experience. That's some form of innovation. It's a very optimizing innovation, but it's still, we should say this goes in the portfolio. The next would be is say, some people, they just don't want to drink out of red cups. So we're going to try and make blue cups. And blue cups is the idea that we're using the same tools, we're answering the same question, but instead of using red dye, we're using blue dye. We've changed something just a little bit different. Now we get to breakthrough. Maybe we've done market research, we've gone, maybe something happened where you're running a marathon or a race and you're trying to grab water, but the runner in front of you knocks all the water off. All of a sudden you think, oh, it'd be so nice if we had something that could keep the water in. All of a sudden, wow, we've invented the water bottle. We're still using plastics, it's plastic cups. All we've done is put a lid on it. Now we can take water everywhere. We've created a breakthrough. We have new customers, new people are using it. People that aren't just sitting in their backyard. Now athletes are doing it. It's amazing. But disruption requires us to ask a different question, such as, why do people even need water? Why are we even drinking? And who knows, maybe someone will say, you know what, there's a magic pill that we can create using this. And all of a sudden, we've now gone from a plastic company to a pharmaceutical company in a generation because we've asked a better question. If you think that's not possible, I'll remind you that the biggest telecom in Canada used to be a sugar company. Nokia used to be a tree company. All of these things changed in a very short time. Now, what does this look like in terms of the innovation gap? If we start to think about this, this blue line and the dotted blue line, I'll explain to you. In a business world context, the innovation gap starts to be where we do the same thing over and over, and we don't realize that the world is changing around us, and eventually the company goes bankrupt because we didn't change. That's disaster. In my world, in government, we are concerned about the gap when society starts to break down and collapse. That's not a joke. That's every government around the world. How do we support people? The only reason, the right that we have to rule is that people are housed, fed, employed, and that there's not violence on the streets. So if we keep doing the same things or using the same ways and don't adopt and upgrade our tools or our ways of thinking, eventually we will collapse. We'll lose the right to govern. If you think about the solid blue line, that's always what people promise, right? This is how we're going to grow, whether it's government or business. But that solid blue line is a little bit of a lie because there's agent risk. People know that they're going to get a bonus. They don't want to overpromise. So they're going to underpromise knowing that, hey, you know what? We'll maybe be able to over-deliver a little bit. I'll get my bonus. It'll be nice. As we move up, we start to get into this world of breakthrough, this world of disruption. And that green line starts to represent what would be a new product, something that starts to feel, versus kind of that big purple, hairy, audacious goal at the very top. That's solely related to capacity. That is where we can engage children and youth. Children and youth can help us solve and close that capacity gap. So I want to give everyone a challenge today. I want to say, let's do this all over the world. We can recreate what we've done in the Waterloo region. We did this in a very fast, very clear project management way, which is why GIMI has been such an amazing partner. We recruited with the local school board as a partnership or with schools. And we had the principals and vice principals find teachers and say, look, you're going to try something new. It's okay. It's okay if it doesn't work. It will work, but it's okay. Don't be stressed. Just come and try it. And of all the teachers in these schools, maybe about 20 showed up and said, hey, we're willing to try it. So we went around. I thought that the first pilot would be one class and 20 kids. And we ended up having 20 kids and 400 students that wanted to try this because there were a lot of teachers who said, yes, give me a better tool. When we did this, we said, okay, we provided the training for the teachers. So the teachers were our first customers, so to speak, if you think about that. We wanted to make sure that we curated the experience for teachers. So every week, we taught the teachers one lesson ahead. We gave them an overview of the entire GIMI framework for the GIMI Impact. And then the week before they taught it in class, we gave them support and education. We had them come to a group. We had them talk about it. We had them break off into different teams. All of this was support for the teachers. And I can tell you, the teachers, 100%, they earned their certificate, because if innovation, the eureka moment, is preceded by a period of intense frustration, confusion, interviewing the teachers, they would say, this is the most frightening thing I have ever done as a teacher. They said, and all of them said, I don't know if it's worth it, until the last day when they saw their students' presentations and they said, wow, this is a new way to teach. This is incredible. Every teacher. You would have thought that, like, from the pilot of the original 20 teachers, that some of them would have just been like, I'm not interested. Almost all of them have stayed. And not only that, they recruit new teachers. I've literally seen in the hallways of schools, teachers recruiting other teachers because they're so excited to do this. What ends up happening is that then these teachers become certified by doing this and maintain kind of this certification by continuing to inspire the young minds. And then they facilitate the training for the younger kids, for the students. Those students who are in high school age, which is what we've kind of grade 9 to 12 in Canada, where we've designed the certification process, now go through this process over about one term, about 12 weeks up to 3-4 months, something like this. This is integrated in all classrooms, all curriculum. We matched it to the Ministry of Education's curriculum here, but everything that the ministry looks for, we can cover. So this has gone into all types of classes: accounting, philosophy, health class, mathematics. It's gone into geography, you name it. This is a plug and play framework for everyone. What ends up happening is that the youth go through this process, and as they go through it, they start to build this confidence. They start to build this confidence and the capacity to innovate, and the ideas that they come out with are incredible. And that would be the end of the story, that everyone, we should all clap and say, this is fantastic. Let's do this more and more, because what ended up happening is that after we did the first pilot, the pilot doubled, and then it almost doubled again. Clearly it's working, because teachers are kind of like farmers. They're really innovative people in some ways. Maybe you don't think it, but they have 3 characteristics that are the same. 1, you'll never meet one that wants to fail. 2, there's not one you can tell what to do. It doesn't matter what, you can't tell a farmer or a teacher what to do. And 3, they will always adopt a better way if they can see a way forward. So the fact that we're able to do this is incredible. But here is where it starts to get really, really interesting, is that now we start to see an organic growth from the community that's not led by us. So what we do as a lab is we fund these ideas in small amounts. because for youth, it's fantastic. It gives them the entrepreneurial experience without the risk of entrepreneurship. So they can start to become better employees, better citizens, better members of their community. But what's really interesting is what we see that happens at the schools and amongst the communities. So organically, we start to see this near peer system. So in our lab, we have university students work with high school then work down to middle school to primary. We like this because it's a better communication, because that's a closer group. But we see this naturally and organically happen. So when we certify the youth in their grade 9, 10, or 11, as they go up the next year, they have now gone back and mentor younger kids in grade 7, 8, grades 4 to 8 is what we've experimented with so far. The kids love it. They would rather listen to those other kids than listen to the teacher. And the best part is, because we have this framework, everyone is following along. But that's not all that happens. So because of the idea of this competition of like trying to fund these ideas, and I would not say it's competition in the sense of like a dragon's den. It's more of a very fun day. Nobody feels like a loser. Then what ends up happening is that they start to invite in other businesses, they invite in other schools, they invite in teachers, former students. All of a sudden, the community is coming together around these children to see what's happening and to support the work that they're doing. All of a sudden, we're creating a community that is built around children and youth, that is for helping and empowering them to solve problems and make the future better. And everyone that walks away goes, this is absolutely incredible. It's not magic. It feels magical, but it's not magic. It is a process. And that's really what I would like to challenge everyone today. Because it's no fun if it's just my community that's doing this. You know, I have a job, my official job is to make this the best community for children and youth. But I always joke, well, we don't want to be the best in Canada, we want to be the best in the world. But I'm only joking about that because we just want to be the first best. We want to be the benchmark. We want every community around the world to be the best community for children and youth. Imagine what that looks like. We have the tools right now to do that. And this is what makes me so excited about what's happening. I want to tell you 2 stories about the projects that have come out of this. I'll tell you 2. So the first one, when we did this with the French Catholic School Board, I'm debriefing the teachers afterwards, and they're the ones who said, this was crazy. Doing this, I couldn't believe it until they got to the last day, and all the teachers go, yes, we want to do this again, and they're recruiting more teachers because of this one story. So the night before, all the kids were coming to present. They had teams of 3 or 4 or 5, something like this. And we do this because this also follows kind of the GIMI framework, right? You have different types of hats. There's different roles for everyone. There's different ways to belong in a community. So the father of one child calls the teacher and said, oh, he can't present tomorrow. He's too scared. He has anxiety. This is a kid. The teacher said he wore a mask every day. He would wear hoodies all the time, wouldn't talk to anybody, was just so scared. The teacher said, look, he doesn't have to answer everything. He just has to come and participate. He'll be okay. So he goes, and my team, they did something very cool. They made a box of candy for all the different groups because they had sweet ideas. And inside 9 of the boxes with the ideas that we were going to fund or move to the next, they gave a golden ticket. Well, this boys team got one of the golden ticket boxes. He was so excited. The school had made up medals for them. This boy, that afternoon, the mask was off. He's wearing the medal at the playground. He's saying hi to the other teachers. The other teachers are like, this kid never says hi to me. And that lasted for the end of school. For the rest of the school months, all of a sudden, this child had come out of their shell. This is what compassion looks like when a child feels like they belong in a community. The other idea I can say is that what we see is the multiplying effect of the children and youth ideas. So with some of the high school certified students, they went to another public school in our community. This school is a big school. It has a very low economic high immigrant population. And there are a small group of kids who go, you know what? We need to explain who we are. So one group, they created a culture cookbook that has recipes inside that talks about the different recipes from different parts of the world. So it's not a cookbook, it's a culture book with recipes. That's what they always want us to. These kids, they're grades 6 and 7. They hired, with the money that we gave them, an 8th grader to do all the drawings. They solved the problems. Like we don't, we think, well, we have a designer, maybe she can work with them. Before we could even present that to them, they had already hired and found someone to solve the problem. They move faster than us. Another group, they said, you know what? We should have a podcast so we can start to talk about this. So all of a sudden, now they have a media hub going. And the podcast talks about, they interview different kids from different places to talk about what they like. That led to a third group saying, you know what? Let's just have a big party. We're going to have a party at the school that talks about all the cultures from around the world. And they said, we want a budget of $5,000. We said, what? You want a $5,000 party? They said, yes, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire all the moms to make the food from their country. And we're going to have them bring all this food, and we're going to call it the Global Gala, so that everyone from the community can start to come. So a group of 5 kids are now going to create an event that will engage 1,000 youth in their school, and that will eventually engage 5,000 people from their community. You cannot do engagement that way at a better cost anyplace else, because all of a sudden you're bringing all the community together. This is something amazing. And I would love for us to host a global challenge where we have the best ideas from youth all around the world, where they're exchanging their ideas and they're building this new and better world. It's our job to get out of the way. It's our job to empower them. And if we can do that.
Grayson, we cannot hear you.
Oh.
I hear him, so I don't know.
We can hear.
We
can hear.
Well, that's it. So you don't need to hear me anymore.
No, we can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, it's my internet. I'm very sorry for disturbing you, Grayson. Very sorry.
No problem, no problem. So that's what I came to talk about today. I would love to answer any questions that you have. I can be more specific about how we did this, or I can talk about some of the other projects that the youth have done. But what I can say for certain is this is one of the most exciting things that I've been a part of. This has been the easiest innovation project I have ever worked on, because it's focused on children and youth, and nobody wants to say no to children and youth. But more importantly, it's bringing a community together, and it's creating something that is creating value, not just for the community, but the individual child or youth that actually participates. And I am really excited to see what happens 10 years, 20 years down the road, because if we keep moving like this, it's not only that our region's going to be the best and most resilient community in Canada, we're going to have communities like this all over the world. And that's the best thing that we can do. Roosevelt, he said, we can't build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. This is what we can do. This is absolutely one of the best things that we can do. And I'm happy to support any of you in adopting this, because it's absolutely amazing. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate you all coming to listen to the story.
Thank you so much, Grayson. I think this is great. Once again, I listen to you, I get so excited, so passionate to reply this, to really implement your same model methodology in different countries in Latin America, specifically in Ecuador and Peru. Would be great for us to start this. And I'm happy to tell you that schools, principals, different schools that we have been talking with, they are really excited to start this as well in their school, in their communities. So my dream really is to start in different schools, right? And then to do a sort of friendshipness and network of different schools worldwide that would be working together and giving their inputs and sharing their knowledge and their experiences and grow in this approach that you are mentioning, right? Why not everybody become the best of the best, but together we change the world, right? And sorry for everybody, let me say something in Spanish. Quisiera que tengamos esto en español. Grayson habla español, felizmente, habla muy buen español y se comprometió con la comunidad latina en hacer algo así en español, ¿verdad, Grayson? Next one.
Sí, claro.
Gracias.
La próxima.
Gracias. Gracias. No sé si quieren preguntar algo, lo pueden preguntar en español tranquilamente y aquí Grayson responderá también. Gracias.
I see there is a question from Mrs. Vidal. How can we join? That's the right question. I don't know who wants to take it, Grayson. Or...
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a Jimmy question or Lucia question, but
vamos a contactar. We are going to contact everybody that has been participating today to let them know. Okay, we're going to give you all the information. We are going to have sessions, specifically personal sessions for each one that is interested in implementing this in their school and in their communities. Of course, it's school plus community together to build this project. Okay.
David?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Yeah, just wanted to know and let you know that every country here, we invited different people that we think that they would be interested. So we're gonna let you know the contact details from every one of us so that we can start working right away with your schools. Okay. I'm David from Mexico, by the way.
Hi, David.
Hey, Grayson, this is Enrique from Lima, Peru. How are you? Great presentation. You know, I remember actually when you introduced this idea, and now it's a full actually program that has grown, you know, in your country and is expanding globally. You know, I've been attending different educational webinars around the world because, you know, the education world is changing very quickly. You know, when we talk about the young learners, the youth, you know, we're talking about how they can develop or the need for the future ready skills, you know, that they need to get. They need to. Can you just mention a few of these like future ready skills that the youth, you know, they need, that we need to teach them, or somehow we need to develop these skills in the kids that they are not really getting at currently at the school?
Yeah, so I think that there are schools around the world who try and teach this. And at least in Canada, some of these are said, but they're hard to teach. So this idea of comfort with ambiguity, trying to go and be comfortable not knowing the answer, that's something that is not normal in schools, because the teachers, they know the answer, they're trying to give the answer to the kids. But we live in this strange time where using AI and tools, all of a sudden, the last image I showed was something I created on Midjourney using AI like 2 minutes before we started the call. But when you think about this AI enables someone without any knowledge to almost have near expert level information. So combine that with being comfortable to try new things and to learn new things, all of a sudden, there's a different requirement for how we teach. While we do collaborate in schools, because there's obviously sports, there's teaming involved, this is a collaboration around a local, hyper-local social community challenge. And I think that this is something to be very clear about. we don't task the kids to solve a global challenge. We say, okay, you can look at the SDGs, you can look at global challenges, but bring it down into your community, even into your school or your neighborhood. What can you solve here? And that has a much more profound impact on both the child as well as the community as a whole, because they're seeing problems that we miss and they're solving them in a way that is more cost effective and more impactful to them and their peers. And then the other aspect of it around creativity. Again, lots of schools encourage this, but the fact that you have to create some form of value, right? Innovation being something you're good at plus something you've never done or never thought about. These things start to create a very new way for youth and children to now start to approach the world, which eventually brings more resilience, because they'll try ideas and sometimes they don't work, and that's okay. You know, that builds this capacity to start growing. There's this idea from called post-traumatic growth. So people hear very much about post-traumatic stress, but post-traumatic growth is something very different, and this allows us to have that without the trauma.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you so much. By the way, happy to hear and see everyone. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Grayson, for this program and the results and outcomes that you can share and inspire us. To be honest, like Grayson is in Abu Dhabi now, so I'm very lucky. Lucia, hi. So I'm very lucky that Grayson is here now, and if we will manage this summer, or at least until September, to develop a little bit international network of the communities who are implementing GIMI Impact, that could help us to really conduct international, let's say, it shouldn't be a championship. I don't want any child to have this feeling of losing, an opportunity to losing and something like this, but we could develop something really international, and even for kids to meet other children from other nationalities, from other countries, but engaged in something similar. That would be something interesting. And Erila, Grayson, Lucia, I think that we could work on this and discuss this.
And I would agree. I think, Jessica, you have a question. You want to ask your question, and then maybe I'll say one more thing, and then if any more questions, otherwise we can go.
Yeah,
so Jessica.
I've been involved in project-based approach situations. I used to work for a very international technology corporation. I don't want to say the name, but how the technology interacts with all these actions of problem or project-based approach that you are suggesting. It's just because I'm in a local movement. I'm from Peru, by the way, and we're trying to impose technology with girls and women and to give them more opportunities. So I was thinking in how these kind of approaches might help in the high altitudes of Los Andes, where we have lack of technology, lack of education, but projects like these will improve the living of the people in those communities.
That's a great question. So I can say you don't need technology to deliver this. And I think that that's an important thing. So the definition that I have for innovation, there's no mention of technology. And I think that that's important, because we should be able to solve problems without technology. And again, we're not asking, there's this great comic that shows like a guy in a hat. He's very serious with some other very serious people. And the board, it says test day. And of the people taking the test is climb a tree, and it's a monkey, a bird, and a fish. And of course, the fish is never going to be able to climb a tree. And I like this because it talks about how we design tests or we design worlds that may not work for everyone. And we're asking the wrong question, not who climbs the tree the best, but what is a goldfish good at? So the idea here, I would say, is that I guarantee that youth in those communities and the high Andes have the ability to solve incredible local problems. The ability for us to empower them, not just with a framework, but with resources to solve those problems, that will create that benefit that we're looking for.
Great. So we can have a day when you can come to Peru.
I
Can
would love to.
we
I'd love
schedule
for-
that? Thanks.
Yes. Yes, please. Soon. Yes, we're going to do that, Jessica. Gracias.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll leave it here unless anyone has any questions, but I would just like to say, you know, we've now done 3 cycles of this in schools. The original pilot, which was 20 teachers, which then scaled up to almost every, I think almost doubled to maybe, or went up by 50%, maybe 30 teachers, to now we're in all the high schools in my region, which is about, I don't know, 10 different high schools. So the fact that we're starting to scale up and now we've done the original pilot, another, and then 1 full term, that's where I would say, hey, I'm confident to now start doing this. So if you were able to start with this upcoming school year, do 1 school year, the first term as pilot to kind of work it out. The second term, you start to expand on it. By the time we get to the start of 2025, we could have a global competition if we have enough people together, or think of it as a global showcase of child and youth innovation around the world, because it should be that they should be working together and taking each other's ideas. You know, the great physicist Richard Feynman, he said, you know, wouldn't it be nice as we start to get down into the, you know, atomic level, that we start to, you know, somebody can write, you know, the entire Bible on a coin, and then they send it to their competitors, all the other on the other side of the world, and then they send the coin back and said it's just in one of the eye, and it gets smaller and smaller. We can compete for good, and that is the only thing that we should be competing on, is who can do the most good. I really appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me this morning or this. Thank you so much, and I'm happy. Yeah, Lucia.
Yeah, just one minute, if you can share with us a little about the model of certification that the teachers can have, or it's only teachers, or we can implement this with you know, a program specifically for students through the teachers that are certified. All this model of opportunities of being certified with GIMI Impact and all the GIMI opportunities that they offer, including to principals, right, to directors or decision makers. So please, thank you. Gracias.
Yes. So we partner with teachers because that does help the economics if you already have teachers in place. However, the process is that once they go through, they have their presentation. There is a certification exam that we have for the older kids. It's designed for older kids. That's why it's certification. And then for the younger kids, we kind of give like little prizes or something like that. We've piloted this, of course, in schools, but we've also worked with the homeschool. So mothers, now we're expanding to that this summer. We're trying another pilot of 20 parents who homeschool their children. And then we've also started to pilot within community centers. So it doesn't have to take place within schools. It's just, we know that the kids are already in schools. If we can do it there, it's more efficient for everyone, for the entire system. It gives us more resources to actually put into the youth projects. But we can do this as long as you have a group of youth, they can be trained in this methodology.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just the last thing is to share with everybody, let me say in Spanish, para quienes no han visto, Erila ha compartido el último brochure de GIMI Impact, y todo lo que pueden encontrar ahí, luego lo podemos conversar con cada uno de ustedes. Gracias.
Thank you, everyone. You posted. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye. Thank you.
Gracias.
Have a wonderful
Chao, chao, Jessica. Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Gracias a todos. Chao, chao.
Gracias. Chao, chao.
Gracias, Bea, por estar. Chao, chao.
Gracias. Okay, I need to
Stop
move.
the.
Yeah, I stopped the recording. I need to move to another important thing. It's only us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's over there.
But Lucia, so I'll try to find a way to do the transcript, and if we can in Spanish, I'll use my resources, you know, to do this through AI. Let's see, and I'll send to you guys.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, because we there are some people, you know, there are schools now. It's school time in many of our countries, so they would like to really see it. Okay,
and
great. Thank you.
Please rely on me for anything about the content, the business models, and everything, Lucia, and we can check. I need to move to the other meeting. But let us close this so we can get the recording. And Grace, and I'll share the recording with you.
Okay, great.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.